This week in movies, we are talking about Observe and Report. Ooh. So that is the latest.
Ooh, shocked. You're shocked.
Wait,
Did you see the movie?
Damn it!
You didn't go?
I watched Powerpuff Girls, the movie.
Observe and Report
really
is the latest from Seth Rogen, as well as the team, the writer-director Jody Hill, who did Foot Fist Way, and the Eastbound and Down show on
which recently
HBO.
got renewed for season 2.
There you go. And it stars Seth Rogen as a bipolar security guard who takes his job extremely serious, is in love with
I don't think that's the tagline that they officially went with, the bipolar security.
That's in the synopsis for the movie.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. He's in love with a makeup counter girl played by Anna Faris, and has to solve crimes that are happening in this mall and compete against the cop detective played by Ray Liotta. Alex, what did you think of Observe and Report?
Can I ask you a question before I give my answer? When was this made?
Feels like a while ago, doesn't it?
It feels like this movie to me was made before Seth Rogen or Anna Faris was anybody.
No, that's not true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, yeah, I really disliked this movie a lot. I mean, a lot. Personal preference, so, you know, it's nothing to say about it. It just seemed like it was definitely one of those situations where the trailer wants you to believe that it is a funny, lighthearted comedy. The movie itself is dark, disturbing, rarely funny, depressing. I mean, it was like this look into this. I mean, there was stuff that, like, you know, the scene where he like kisses the girl after she throws up seems funny in the trailer. Then they cut to her unconscious and him having sex with her, unconscious with vomit on the pillow. So it's like it's not that movie. It's not the movie. When the quote comes up and says sick and a couple other things, you know, like outrageous. It's not because it's so funny. It's because it's really just sort of a fucked up movie. There were a couple really good laughs in it, laughs to be had, at least for me. But overall, I just walked away kind of down and like, what was that? And one of the things that I keyed into was there were things that I think were on paper. There's a scene where they go and beat up these teen skaters. And I think on paper that seems funny. Like, it's these guys who are sort of, and these kids are just skateboarding, and they kind of go overboard, and they end up beating them up rather than just saying, hey kids, stop skateboarding. But they shot it in such a visceral and gritty, dirty, realistic way that you actually lost any semblance of humor, and you just went into the space of, I feel really bad for those kids. Like, this seems wrong. Whereas on paper, I think that was like the funny bit.
I agree with you 1,000%. I found very little redeemable about this movie. I did not enjoy it at all. What I would like to talk about is another comedy that I saw this week that I adore, and it's called I Love You, Man.
Oh.
And it's interesting because as I was enduring Observe and Report, I kept thinking about I Love You, Man, because Observe and Report is exactly what you're talking about. All the comedy that they're trying to mine in that movie is about negativity. It's about just yelling at each other. Like a comic scene in that movie is just yelling profanities at another person. That's what they think is funny. Now, I'm no prude. I'm up for negativity in some movies. You know, I like movies. I can be entertained. I can laugh at South Park when they get really, you know, off color and weird. But I've been listening to these, maybe odd to bring up, but I've been listening to the new Prince album, and he has, which is fantastic, by the way. And he has this line,
the guy who sings "Sexy Mother Effer."
Yeah, which is right.
Great song.
And he has this great line that said when he says the songs you used to sing used to mean something. Now every other one is just mean, and that's kind of how I feel about this movie. Like, it's just mean. Whereas I Love You, Man, which is co-written and directed by a guy who did one of my favorite comedies ever called Safe Men. I Love You, Man is a movie where you are thoroughly entertained, laughing your ass off. It's very adult, it's very off color and very R-rated, but you walk out of there and you feel great. Everybody in the movie is the comedy is found from commonality that you feel toward the characters and enjoying going through this experience with these people. Whereas Observe and Report is just beating you down. I did not like it at all, and I urge anybody that hasn't gone to see I Love You Man to rush out and see it because it's a phenomenal experience.
Well, I'm glad you bring up I Love You Man because it's a movie we missed while we were covering all the South by Southwest stuff, but everyone says it's hysterical, and I'm glad to hear you find I've been excited to see it.
One of the funniest comedies
on my list of things
people
to
that
do.
we should be seeing I Love You Man.
Yeah.
And I was upset that we couldn't cover it on the show. That being said, I'm probably going to defend this movie a little bit, but I needed to give a disclaimer up front that I didn't enjoy it. I didn't think it was very. I didn't laugh at all throughout the movie, but similar to how I experienced Foot Fist Way and Eastbound and Down, I think it's funny. I think they're doing some clever things, and I think to myself, oh, that's funny, but I cannot bring myself. It doesn't evoke laughter from me, and. It's despicable and horrible and negative as you say, but I don't think unintentionally, and I think they do something very.
Oh, it's very intentional.
I think they have a very original, creative, comedic voice in that they don't care about Jody Hill maybe in specific, but this whole crew guys, they don't care about making anyone likable. It's sort of this bold statement. It's almost like the Bad Lieutenant of comedy.
I felt a lot of Taxi Driver in there.
Right. But it's like, it's interesting that they forego likability for the sake of a joke that has never been made. And like in some movies, there's plot twists. To me, there was like comedy twists where they're setting up something and the payoff is something you never would have expected in a million years because it is so dark. And it's extremely dark. What I do think is redeemable about this movie is the action sequences. Because I think there's a few action sequences in this movie that are better than anything in last week's movie, Fast and Furious. And there's a classic, iconic, notorious action sequence in the movie Old Boy from the Korean director Chan-wook Park has this cult following. Right. And there's a sequence that is taken straight out of that movie, straight out of Flash Gordon. It's set to the Flash Gordon music when he kicks butt with his flashlight. Yeah. And uses the Queen song from Flash Gordon. That is the same scene, and that is a badass sequence. And the other action sequences are really
But how
cool.
can you? But see, to me, there's nothing badass about that sequence because after the first hit, I go, oh my god, this is disturbing. There's no reason why that character would even be doing that.
Obviously, none of us have the sense of humor that this movie speaks to.
Right.
But I think that there are people that will find this very funny, and it really does.
I don't know a single person in my life that would find.
I don't know.
Well, a lot of people are raving about it, so there are.
I understand what you're saying, dude, and I get that they're trying to push the envelope, but I felt like so much of the movie is just there to push the envelope, and it also felt like the whole thing was they had this image of the end. Of what happens at the end with the streaker.
Right.
And they had that image, and then they worked backward from there. That's how the movie feels to me. It felt like at every point, it's like, what's the most shocking thing we can do? And it was never fun. It was never fun. And I get that they're trying to do that. They're trying to do that like anti-hero, completely despicable thing. But ultimately, if I'm going to a comedy, I don't think it's just a difference in
I just don't think I don't think I share the sense of humor of this. I think a lot of people, because it's the same thing. I've experienced the same feeling from his past other things that he's made.
People are like,
people think it's funny, and it's not my sense of humor.
It might be
at
that humor that, like I said when we were talking about Foot Fist Way, where if you're in comedy so much, like when I was doing improv, we would do comedy so much that what was normally normal comic moments and bits weren't fun. We got numb to it. So the only thing that we could do as a group to make each other laugh was say the worst, like horrific, horrible things we could possibly think of. And that's why I always thought that maybe this is the reason why people, like Will Ferrell and stuff like that, get all excited about movies like this, is because it's so different from anything.
I mean, lots of people
there's
are going to see.
I don't know.
Anyway,
it disturbs me that this is the kind of comedy that kids are going to be quoting, and maybe that's me coming off as being out of touch.
What was Clerks when that first came out, and he's talking about all the vulgar things in Clerks. That was crazy to hear that.
You have this other movie, I Love You Man, which is so so wonderful to watch.
Yeah.
They're not
And
mutual, but you have that. That's good.
No, okay.